Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for a brand new Chelsea FC news video. As you can see from the title, we've got some potential exciting stories to discuss today. And as always with this series, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, the juice, as some people like to call it, I would love to ask you to subscribe to GBFC if you haven't already done so. I want to see if we can get as close to 200,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I think it's neon impossible, but you never bloody know. Tell your dog, tell your mates who you talk to Chelsea about around the pub or wherever it is you may be chatting with them. Tell them to subscribe. I'll be a happy man. And then, well, I mean, like, just more entertaining videos, I guess. But without any further ado, let me stop begging for your subscription to the channel and talk about something that is a little bit interesting. You guys remember when a few months before the Havertz signing was announced by Chelsea Football Club, I made a video saying why Kai Havertz will sign for Chelsea over other rival clubs. The opportunity for me to do that about another player has kind of arisen due to some similarities and parallels between behaviour of these individual players on social media. It is kind of a clutching at straws kind of story, but Jose Gimenez, I probably have pronounced that one wrong, but you guys know him as the Atletico Madrid centre-back. He's Uruguayan, he's a very good player, a player who Chelsea have supposedly been relatively long-term admirers of, and the player's also come out in the past and said that he would have loved to play with Frank Lampard. So when you put those things together, plus the fact that somebody within the Chelsea community, I do apologise for this awful reporting, but I forgot the account, I'll put it up on the screen now. But basically, Gimenez was caught liking a tweet, which was basically saying, I'm going to tweet Gimenez until he signs for Chelsea. The fact he's liked this tweet has sent a few people, including myself, I was contemplating, like, is this actually story worthy? And then I remembered all the flipping hype that I gave to Havertz, and I thought, you know what? Why the bloody hell not? Sometimes social media can actually be a very big indicator as to what a player is wanting to do based off of how much time they spend on their phones. Players these days spend a lot of time on their mobile phones, a lot of time on social media. And it could have just been that he was searching for his name and then just accidentally, the thumb slips. You've all been there before when we've liked something that we haven't we? But it could be that, or it could just be that he's looking around the world and looking around the bubble of the internet and thinking, what is the footballing world saying about me? With the links that we've had to him in the past and this tweet being liked, who's to say that Gimenez doesn't want the move to Chelsea? If Chelsea are an admirer of the player, if we also think about it from a logical perspective, which with all of these news stories, I try and give my 2 cents in some kind of logical way, Thiago Silva has been brilliant this season. Kurt Zouma has arguably become the best centre-back at the club, if not in the Premier League right now as well. 4 goals this season. Thiago Silva is 36. Gimenez is significantly younger than Thiago Silva. Silva supposedly is going to be offered a brand new Chelsea deal to extend by another season come January, but Gimenez would be a very logical long-term replacement. We know that Lampard hasn't necessarily seen Rudiger and Christensen as consistent centre-backs to be picking within his squads. Tomori, I'm kind of tired of talking about it. I absolutely love Fikayo Tomori. And I've been as frustrated as your bloody neighbour who's a Chelsea fan with the flag out of his window as him. I've been just as frustrated as him or her because, well, I want to see Tomori in the side and he doesn't seem to get a look in. Maybe tomorrow night we will see him get minutes because we've got Krasnodar, we've already won the group. It would make some bloody sense. But Gimenez to Chelsea is the first of the 2 South American players that you guys have probably clicked on this video for. Gimenez to Chelsea, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I think he's a brilliant centre-back, one of the top centre-backs in Europe, and it would be a logical long-term replacement for when Thiago Silva eventually has to be like, you know what? Can he do this no more? Don't know what accent that was a combination of a load of rubbish. But the second player from South America that I want to discuss today is the Juventus player who hasn't signed a new contract, who supposedly, according to 90 Minute, who have reported this, Paulo Dybala has been offered to Chelsea. Dybala, he's 27 years old now. I kind of feel as though when I think about Dybala, just straight off the top of my head, I still think about this young player who is just breaking through, because he's always been a player who can score big goals, can score goals, get assists. So he's a very creative player. He plays with a lot of flair. But since Ronaldo has signed for Juventus, he's kind of been a bit lost in terms of not only game time, he's not signed a new deal. So Chelsea have supposedly also been admirers of Paulo Dybala over the years. But my biggest question is Dybala really the answer to any of Chelsea's problems? No, because right now we don't really have problems in an attacking sense. Dybala's currently at Juventus, and, would he want to come to Chelsea, which is a club where you don't necessarily see an immediate place for him to fit in? Probably not. And the third thing is it would probably hinder the progression of some of the young players we've either A, already bought, or B, have broken through from the academy. I'm talking mainly about the three: Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, and also, if we're looking to maybe play Dybala further out wide, someone like a Hudson-Odoi. Now, the good positive that I would see in Chelsea actually going for Dybala is because of his contract situation, the chances are it would be a much lower price than his probable market value because of the contract situation. So maybe in order to bring in another more experienced player, he's 27 years old, the same as Hakim Ziyech, maybe if the option were to arise and the player was keen on Chelsea, we've just seen today from Frank Lampard's press conference that Hudson-Odoi is now injured with a hamstring injury. Ziyech is injured with a hamstring injury, which does make us look a little bit lightweight on the wings. Could Dybala be somebody that could be coming in to play on the wings for Chelsea Football Club? It's possible, but at the end of the day, I don't see this one happening. I think there would be much more beneficial moves to other big clubs, maybe in the Premier League or in other leagues that Dybala would choose. Let me know your thoughts on that one as well in the comments. Do we need him? Would you like to see him in a Chelsea shirt? It would kind of be like, in the footballing world, a bit of a Galactico signing again from Chelsea, but we've made a lot of those already. Is it really needed? I would say that we put our efforts into Gimenez if it was a choice between the two. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about in this Chelsea news video today is the comments made from Jurgen Klopp. This guy just, his team are doing very well. You're joint top of the table, but I feel as though Klopp is starting to become this guy who, he just makes these little comments here and there, like, throwing out the bait, for people like me to turn around and make videos on it. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp doesn't give a bloody about what I'm doing on GBFC, but at the end of the day, he's trying to bait maybe Lampard a little bit, put a bit of pressure on a man who is, he's galloping down, he's towards the final furlong, and Super Frankie Lampard is about to make the flipping jump and maybe overtake Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool are still 2 points ahead of us. Klopp has made the comments that Chelsea are title favourites. Now, believe as much of this in terms of how much Klopp actually believes that as much as you like. The way I see this is that he's just a bit salty that Liverpool have, in fact, been very unlucky with injuries, which is just a fact, They're dealing with it very well. I've spoken very highly about Liverpool here on this channel this season. I think considering the injuries, the COVID hits that they've had, I think Liverpool are doing exceptionally well. They won 4-0 yesterday against Wolves to overtake Chelsea again in the Premier League table. They beat us 2-0 at the Bridge earlier this season. I wouldn't read into this one too much. I think Klopp's just in that mood at the moment where if he's not arguing with reporters, he wants to be like throwing out little bits of potential pressure, potential mind games, and I say we just let them do it. Chelsea over the years have been brilliant. When we've been underdogs, when no one's expected us to do anything, that is where Chelsea Football Club shine and thrive the most. So Jurgen, keep talking. Now, the next bit of news that I want to discuss is just from Frank Lampard's press conference. I've already alluded to it earlier, but Callum Hudson-Odoi is also now out injured. Hakim Ziyech got an injury at the weekend. It could have been the perfect opportunity for Callum Hudson-Odoi to get some minutes on the wing, and he gets injured in training. Now, David Ornstein has reported from The Athletic that Chelsea have no interest in letting Callum Hudson-Odoi leave in January. We know when a player's only played something like 15 minutes of Premier League football in the past month and a bit, we know there's going to be stories coming out regarding Callum Hudson-Odoi. We had it all of last January before he signed his new contract. And I think it's going to start raising its head again over the course of the next few weeks in the lead up to the January transfer window. The bad news for Callum is we don't know the extent of his hamstring injury. He's not in the squad for the game against Krasnodar tomorrow, which was a massive chance for him to get in the team again, show what he can do with Ziyech's injury and the fact that there's really nothing to play for at all in this game against Krasnodar. But of course, I'll be bringing you guys a preview tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of changes to the squad, and it's probably the most exciting one yet for me to try and go ahead and predict. But Hudson-Odoi will miss it. It does really leave us quite short of numbers for players that can play on the wing. Christian Pulisic is pretty much guaranteed to start now, even though we're trying to nurse him back slowly, and it's a bit of a worry that we can't really get any more winger injuries. Maybe we see a change of formation, or maybe we see a youngster from the academy come through. Let me know who you would put in the right wing position tomorrow. Let's say if we're sticking with a 4-3-3. Bad news for Callum, but Chelsea have said that he's not going anywhere in January. Frank always says that he needs everybody in the squad, and hopefully Callum is able to continue working hard to fight for his place in the side. But anyway, going to wrap up this Chelsea news video now. As I said at the beginning, if you're not yet subscribed, I'd love to ask you to do so. Hit the like button on today's video if you haven't already done so. Let me know your thoughts on both the Dybala and Gimenez link, even though the Gimenez link is very far-fetched at the moment, just from liking a tweet. But it could happen. It would make sense. But anyway, I'll catch you guys tomorrow with a Krasnodar preview. See you all there. Come on, you Blues.